Hello and welcome to the channel. For the Price of Precons is a series where I try to build a precon from scratch, following a budget restriction of the price of most preconstructed decks released by Wizards of the Coast. I'll be shooting for around $45 to $50 at the time of recording for these decks. The price also includes the commander, but not basic lands. Today's deck came out to $45.05 at the time of recording on TCG Player. At the head of today's deck is Trazyn the Infinite, who's a cool combo-focused commander. He's a 4/6 Necron with Death Touch that costs 4 black. While he's on the battlefield, he has all activated abilities of artifacts in your graveyard. This is a solid ability because we're in the right color to not only tutor things directly into our hand, but also directly into our graveyard. Artifacts as an archetype are probably the easiest permanent type to combo off with also. The great advantage here is that even if our opponents take care of our combo pieces, we can still use them from the yard with our commander. This means that in order to actually answer our combos, our opponents have to hate out Trazyn or exile our cards. This isn't too difficult for them to do. There's a lot of ways your opponents could exile things, but those answers are pretty niche for most decks, so you'll likely just have to deal with people destroying Trazyn as the answer to your combos. You could protect him with cards like Swiftfoot Boots on the field, or Patchwork Gnomes and Amaranthine Wall in the graveyard. Note that he only gives the activated abilities, not triggered abilities or passive ones, so the boots will need to be on field to be useful here. Both the Wall and Patchwork will save him from most other removal effects. Patchwork also feeds our graveyard to enable our commander with anything we have stuck in hand. Our goal though is to eventually get infinite mana and combo off with cards like Staff of Nin, Codex Shredder, or Magistrate Scepter. Our infinite mana combos all involve untapping Trazyn, so we can win with any of these cards in the yard. We can ping down our opponents with the Staff, mill them out with the Shredder, or keep taking turns with the Scepter until we win with some other way like in combat or draw into another answer. Infinite mana is pretty easy to pull off here. We just need some way to untap him. Staff of Domination, Voltaic Construct, and Pilipala are the easiest ways to do this. The Staff and Pilipala will combo with any artifact in the yard that generates at least 2 mana. Mana abilities are activated abilities, so Trazyn becomes a mana dork with literally any mana producing artifact in the graveyard. There's a few you've probably heard of that could work here, like Sol Ring and Hedron Archive. We'll need something that makes at least 3 mana for the construct, so go to Lotus for that. But there's a million artifacts to make at least 2 mana, so take your pick here. The bright side of there being so many is that this deck can reliably ramp while also having some to spare to pitch into the yard. If we ever lose what we have on the field, we'll likely have more to cast, and the old ones we had are now in the yard. Either way, we're set up to combo off. We'd rather not lose our commander, but it's worth noting that we can use him to draw with Hedron's ability, or with other cards like Mind Stone and Commander Sphere if we're stalling out at some point in the game. The best part here is that we can always do this as long as he's on field. He's a 6 mana commander, so we probably don't want to do this too much, but it's worth pointing out that we can. Being in mono black, we also have a ton of ways to expand our card advantage since we can utilize our graveyard. Unmarked Grave, Auric Lore Mage, and Disciples of Gix are all tutors we can use to enable our combos. Disciples of Gix is by far the best of these, since it can get every piece of our combo by itself. If Trazyn doesn't have Summoning Sickness, we can just tutor out Staff of Nin, Voltaic Construct, and something like Coveted Jewel to win the game. Or we can mix and match to whatever we have available. These cards aren't the only ways to get things into our yard. Vile Entomber is another great tutor. Stinkweed Imp and Out of the Tombs are some great mill cards we can utilize in this list as well. Out of the Tombs just scales like crazy, and it's a fun card that comes in the same precon as Trazyn if you happen to pick that up. Profane Tutor is a nice budget tutor we can use to set up our game plan, though it does go the hand instead. But we can get something like Greed and Scourge Familiar, which not only combo themselves, but are nice utility cards to help out our list. The Familiar's effect populates our yard while also giving us mana. As long as we have life to pay for Greed, we can actually just draw out our whole deck this way. There's many cheap cards that fit in this list that play into our game plan, like Millikin, Moonsliver Key, and Trading Post. Trading Post is another discard and sack outlet for our artifacts to help them get into the yard if needed. Reckoner's Bargain, Hostile Negotiations, and Ransack the Lab are more budget cards that are normally sort of okay in most decks, but are very useful with our game plan. With Bargain, we can sacrifice any artifact we want to get it into the yard and then draw some cards. With Hostile Negotiations, we normally don't care what goes into the yard or hand. Either place is useful for us. Ransack the Lab is a similar card, but we get to choose what goes directly into the yard this way. If you happen to pick up the precon Trazyn came in, then you already have Beacon of Unrest, their Number is Legion, and Lichguard to add to this deck. Their Number is Legion is another win con we could use with our infinite mana combos, which we can also cast from the yard. Being sorcery speed, our opponents could answer it with a board wipe before we get rid of Summoning Sickness, but we can make however many tokens and gain however much life this way. Beacon of Unrest and Lichguards are ways to sort of answer removal for Trazyn. Beacon just brings him back while also being flexible for getting any artifact or creature out of any yard. Trazyn can actually use Lichguard's ability. Since the ability doesn't target anything, we can sack Trazyn to the cost and then bring him to hand should he be targeted by anything. It's pretty inefficient, but it's a reputable way to dodge commander attacks. I'm not going to cover every card in this deck, so if you'd like to see the rest of the Trazyn list, check out the link in the description below. If you enjoyed this video, please consider clicking the like button and subscribing to the channel. If you do end up trying out this deck, let me know how it went for you. I'd love to hear how it worked out. Budget builds aren't something I normally do on this channel, so if you like this kind of video or like the old style, let me know in the comments below. Thank you so much for watching, good luck, and have fun.